So if you're searching this, you're probably already in some pretty dire straits to begin with. But I'm going to tell you how to bury a news story. Because I feel like there's not many people out here telling you the rules of the game. The primary thing to understand about a news story is how it's birthed and how it dies. And news stories operate a lot like forest fires. They can burn bright and fast until all the oxygen around them is gone. So the first thing you might think of, which is a pretty good strategy, is deprive it of oxygen. A story, like a fire, needs oxygen. And you can use this strategy both ways. People use this to their advantage, like Kim Kardashian. Once you're the subject of a story, any sort of information you feed it becomes oxygen that further fuels the burning flames that's all consuming. But if you want to bury a story, if you want to smother it quickly, you need to shut up. Journalists are like the cops. You should never talk to them. In fact, when you ever interact with a journalist, you'll most likely experience the same physiology that you would with the cops. When you get pulled over by the police, what's the first thing that happens? Your blood pressure spikes, your heartbeat accelerates, you try to remain calm, you start to sweat, the cop comes around, and you want to be communicative. You want the cop to like you, as if they're going to make any sort of decision. Not. Whatever's happening is going to go straight to the DA's office. Doesn't matter whether that cop likes you or not. Doesn't matter whether that reporter likes you or not. Shut up, because it's going to go to the editor anyway. Just like the cop's file is going to go to the DA's office, and you're going to be dealing in the court. Journalists, whatever they write down is going to go to the editor and the media company. It doesn't matter how charismatic you are to that reporter. You need to not talk to them. And you might think, okay, well, I'll be quiet. Well, shut up with your friends, too, because your friends are going to behave the same way. They're going to get nervous. They're going to want to be communicative. The journalist is going to reach out to your friends. They're going to reach out to your family. And your friends can't talk if you haven't told them anything. But if you have told them, and you think they're going to keep your secret, well, you're about to test that friendship. But that's the first step. The first step is to just not talk. And this can be effective, but if a story gets going anyway, and you're the subject of that story, and you can deprive it of oxygen as much as you'd like, let's say they're still going to run with it. And if you have a very dogged journalist, just like you have a very dogged private investigator, and you've done something wrong, they're probably going to get you eventually. Just like you got the Ronan Farrows and the Harvey Weinsteins, or the Matt Lauers. Those things are eventually going to come out, as much as you might want to deprive them of oxygen. But let's imagine for a second you're not a Harvey Weinstein, or you're not a Matt Lauer. But for whatever reason, the journalists are on you. Control the narrative. This is the other half of burying a story, is controlling the narrative. Because journalism, the court of public opinion, is not like our real court system. Double jeopardy does not exist. You can be tried over and over and over again. So you may think, I'll deprive it of oxygen, I won't say anything, and hopefully it burns out quickly. And it doesn't do too much collateral damage to the life around me. And this can be effective sometimes. If you think you can ride it out, and the forest fire is going to, the flames are going to lick at your life a little bit, but you'll walk away singed, great. Problem is, that story can rear its head again and again and again. So, another tactic that many people make the mistake of is just writing it out. The other half of this is you need to control the narrative. But you're not going to control the narrative by talking to the journalist, just like you're not going to control your narrative by talking to the police. The police have their own narrative. The journalists, the editors, the media have their own narrative as well. And no matter how convincing those journalists may seem, or how friendly they are, their narrative and their goals are not going to be yours. Your goal is going to be to preserve your integrity or whatever message you want. And their goal is going to be to sell papers or to sell clicks. So, when you need to keep your narrative and your message out to combat that fire, to put it out, you need to use your own platforms. And luckily, in the kind of 21st century, you're not beholden to another journalist that maybe you can rope into convincing, like, hey, yes, this journalist is running this side of the story, but let me tell you the other half, and kind of galvanize this journalist to think, well, if I ran this other side of the guy's story, I could also get clicks. No. Control the narrative, and the best way to do that is to start publishing yourself. Publish on Medium, publish on YouTube, publish on Facebook, publish on Twitter. Craft what you're going to say, Have people you trust look it over, and then hammer that narrative home again and again and again, and don't deviate from the narrative. Don't apologize. Don't change your mind. Remember, I'm not talking about whether this is right or wrong. You clicked on this video because it's how to bury a story. And we're treating it like a fire because it's the best analogy there is for a news cycle. A news cycle burns bright and fast until all the oxygen is in the room, and then it moves on, just like a forest fire. And if you can't just smother it with no oxygen, you need to fight it with a hose. You got to get your own hose. So that's meaning self-publishing, sticking to one narrative, and just a constant stream. Because if you're able to put out that story, put it to bed, one tap, lights out, it won't keep coming up and up and up again every time a reporter or a journalist thinks there's maybe some additional information. Or maybe this will be newsworthy again with, oh, this new person spoke out, or I uncovered this new piece of information. I'm going to publish this. And suddenly you find yourself in the news again. And you see many smart people this happen to. I don't care if it's Woody Allen or even Matt Lauer, who thought he'd ride it out. Talk show host, Today Show, whatever he's on, thought he would ride it out. But no, when there's new newsworthy information, that story rears its head again. It's not like the court system where you've been tried once, not guilty or guilty, and then you move on with your life. And keep coming up. So you need a counter-narrative. And the best way to control a counter-narrative is to self-publish and to stick to that counter-narrative at all costs. And it's a sad truth, but a real truth, which is that a lie repeated enough times will convince people, or will at least muddy the waters. And you can see foreign governments do this. You can see bad actors do this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's the Russian government, the president, your friend that just tells the same bald-faced lied story about how he caught 5 fish, when he was at summer camp in 5th grade. And he's repeated it so many times that you actually start to believe that he did catch that 22-inch bass, even though he never did. Stick to the narrative over and over and over again until it becomes unclear or murky, or you've convinced enough of whatever audience that it's old news, that it's not worth repeating. Each party said their part, doesn't matter. Onward. But that's how you bury a story. Because journalists are always working on multiple stories at once. At least 98% of them. They're like musicians, songwriters. There's always one more song that singer or guitarist hasn't played yet that they've been kind of working on in the background. That's a journalist. They're always juggling a few stories at once. And so if they can't get enough oxygen for this one, the one you're burying, you're attempting to smother, then they're going to move on to the other one. Because they don't have time, they're on deadlines, they think, well, I need to get my traffic up for this month, or I'm trying to get this promotion, or I need to get a different story out because I'm trying to hop jobs. And you rely on the psychology of the human, which is what reporters ultimately are. You rely on the psychology of the human, that they're going to move on as an individual if you don't give them any oxygen. And 2, you're going to remain calm and you're not going to talk to them because you're going to remember they're a little bit like police. It doesn't matter how charismatic they are or how charismatic you are. It's going to go right to the editor. It's going to go right to the DA's office. And then there's no arguing with the editor. There's no arguing. Well, it's too late by then. There's no arguing with the DA. Then you got to get the defense attorney. This is not an ethical or value judgment in this video. This is simply, hopefully, elucidating some of the rules of the game so that everybody can play it more fairly. Because Lord knows journalists know the rules of the game. And they know how to get you to talk, just like the police know how to get you to talk. That's why most people plead guilty. Never goes to court. 98% of all court cases never go to court in the United States. Something to think about. Thanks for watching, guys. Click like if you found this interesting. Click like if you stumbled upon this video searching for it. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye.